The Yacoubian Building is a 2002 novel by the Egyptian author Alaa Al Aswany. Al Aswany was born in Cairo in 1957. In early adulthood, he trained to be a dentist, but his father had been an accomplished writer, and Alaa Al Aswany eventually, and perhaps inevitably, turned his attention to the same enterprise. He's been a consistent advocate of human rights and liberal democracy. The Yacoubian Building was his second novel. It's a portrait of the society that emerged under the dictatorship of Hosni Mubarak, who came to power in 1981 and was forced to step down in the Egyptian revolution 30 years later. This, Al Aswany wants us to know, was a corrupt society. The characters in the novel are either embittered because they're victims of injustice or warped because they're perpetrators. The victims often go on to commit injustices of their own. The problem is absolutism, as one of the main characters, an old man called Zaki Bey al-Dasuki, who helped depose the British in his youth, tells us, if there were a real democratic system, Egypt would be a great power. Egypt's curse is dictatorship, and dictatorship inevitably leads to poverty, corruption, and failure in all fields. The Yacoubian Building is the name of the 10-story apartment block in Cairo where all the novel's characters live and/or do business. The poorest tenants live in tiny rooms on the top level, but some of the wealthiest and worst citizens live below. In other words, it serves as a microcosm for the nation. Although there really is a Yacoubian Building in Cairo, and the author had it in mind, it differs significantly from its literary counterpart here. This isn't a cheerful read, rather it's a cry of rage at a society in which corruption pervades everything. Bribes and personal favours trump orderly queues. Extortion goes hand in hand with extravagant displays of public piety. Young women are sexually assaulted as a matter of course, and the police are thugs who routinely take the law into their own hands. Anyone with any talent wants to go abroad and stay abroad. It's rare to find a novel that has any sympathy for Islamism, especially one written by an avowed liberal Democrat, but the Yacoubian Building is one such. The Muslim Brotherhood may be fanatics, but at least they're honest, and arguably the only honest characters in here. Al Aswany clearly doesn't agree with them, but as a society like the one he depicts, he can see where they're coming from, and he makes us see too. There are a lot of characters in this novel. It really is an overview of an entire social system, but they're never inadequately drawn. We believe in them, even as we find many of them repellent or pitiable. This is a novel that certainly engages the reader's emotions, and part of that has to do with the exceptional quality of the writing. During the Arab Spring of 2011, the author was a prominent supporter of the demonstrators in Tahrir Square. When President Mubarak resigned and elections were held, the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood took power. Many Western observers were surprised. Why vote in the extremists? This novel helps explain that. There are a large number of ways in which this is an outstanding novel, not least amongst which is its ending. There's a kind of mock last judgment for one of the most despicable characters at the hands of the big man, presumably Mubarak himself, although he's not named as such. And the final few pages constitute a genuine happy ending for two of the novel's most endearing characters. But quite apart from that, its central theme wholly transcends its Egyptian setting. Transparency and the rule of law are incredibly fragile goods, and yet we tend to take them for granted. There have been times in Britain recently when we've come dangerously close to waking up inside the Yacoubian Building. How close are we today? Honestly can't say. In any case, this novel reminds us that once inside, it's almost impossible to get out.